Welcome to the Psychology World podcast. I'm Connor Whiteley, bringing you psychology news, articles, and other interesting psychology-related articles. Where I can find the podcast notes and more interesting psychology-related things, and you can get your free 8 psychology book box set at connorwhiteley.net. Now let's get on to the show. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 65 of the Psychology World podcast with me, Connor Whiteley, and today's episode is on the psychology of Christmas and tips on gift giving. And it is Saturday the 12th of December 2020 as I record this. Moving on to psychology news section, we're reading from the British Psychological Society Research Digest. Okay, so the first one is: meditation may help couples resolve conflicts better than one-on-one discussions. No matter how much you love your partner, there are always going to be things about them that get on your nerves. I think that goes for everyone. These can be fairly superficial, like not liking the way they fold the laundry, for example, or hating their favourite TV show. Other problems can be more serious. Fundamental failures to communicate or disagreements on big decisions like having children. There's also evidence that we continue to repeat these patterns in new relationships, even when we hope to see a change. But while all couples argue, they don't all do it in the same way. A new study suggests that mediation, negotiations facilitated by a neutral third party such as a therapist or counsellor, may be better than one-on-one discussions for resolving serious conflicts between partners. So that I think is really interesting because, and I also understand that this can be quite difficult because, well, you don't want to go to a stranger and tell them about your problems because you want everyone to think that you're in a healthy, great relationship. But I don't know, but I think this is a really interesting article that maybe we should try and get a neutral third party in when it comes to fights between a couples. That I think is quite interesting. Just be like food for thought. Okay, so another one is: narcissism can have both a positive and negative impact on new mothers' well-being, a longitudinal study finds. What can happen to a narcissistic woman when she becomes a mother? Can someone with an unmet desire for attention, love and recognition, which all characterises narcissists, adapt well to having a baby to care for? The answer, according to a new study in personality disorders, theory, research and treatment, is that it really depends on the type of narcissist the mother is. The work highlights the nuanced way personality traits might influence a women's well-being during and just after pregnancy, but the conclusions were based on self-reported, so they should be received with a bit of caution. So this, I think, is quite an interesting one because I think it's quite interesting that narcissism can have benefits, because we all know that narcissism is a really bad personality condition. So it's actually quite interesting to hear that there are positives. But I do just want to highlight, though, that this comes from self-reported data, and narcissists, they never want to make themselves look bad. So I don't know. I think the research findings have to be done with extreme caution. Okay, so the last one is: adults who experienced more positive emotions had less memory declined over the decades. Yes, this one should be quite interesting. Okay. So, a huge variety of factors are related to memory, from mood to personality to what substances have been consumed. One recent study, for example, found that older adults with higher openness to experience also experience fewer cognitive complaints each day. Other work has found a relationship between self-reported memory and traits including neuroticism and extroversion. Now, a new study has looked at the relationship between memory and positive affect, the experience of pleasurable emotional states like enthusiasm, pride and joy. The team finds that there was less of a decline in memory over a period of 9 years for participants who started out with high levels of a positive effect. So, not a lot to say on this one, except if we know any elderly people, or basically whoever we know, we sort of need to encourage them to have more positive emotions, be happy, to be prideful, experience like tons of joy. Yes, I know it's really hard, especially in 2020 with the pandemic, but this really does show that if we feel good, then this this is also going to have physical benefits for us for the long term. So I think it's really interesting. So that's enough of the psychology news section. I hope you enjoyed it. So let's move on to the personal update. So this week has been packed full of revision. So this personal should actually be quite short because there's not a lot of psychology stuff to actually say because I've just been recapping. I've just been doing tons of revision, but I'm actually enjoying revision because I always find it quite interesting just to go over older stuff and also I just see what you remembered because earlier I was doing some revision this morning and I was doing the online quizzes that the university gave us and something that I was quite interested in is that there were some really weird questions which I didn't know, but I got them right. So I'm thinking, I, I have no idea if this is a correct psychology fact, but I think it's reasonable to assume. But I don't know. Maybe I read it. Maybe I didn't consciously take it in, but maybe my implicit memory remembered it. And yes, I know that's sort of the really badly worded way, but I don't know, but I think it's possible. But yeah, but I will be I will be so happy after next week because then it'd be the month-long Christmas break and I can do tons of creative stuff and everything, and it means I don't have any more exams till the summer term. Yeah, but to keep myself sane this week, I've also been doing tons of fiction work. I've been loving going over my books, getting them back from my editor and everything. And I just think, I really do love all the bits of the publishing process. And I've also been deciding on what I'm doing in 2021. So there's some great plans that come in, because I'm definitely going to get some more interview guests lined up. So if there's someone you want me to interview, or if you want someone to come onto the podcast, please tell me. Yeah, but please tell me because I would love to know. And also just wanted to tell you all that next week will probably be the last proper live episode for 2 weeks because of how Christmas lands this year. But the normal days that I do the podcast, while I won't be able to get the psychology news and the personal update done. So the Christmas and the New Year one, and maybe the one after, I think that one will most probably be pre-recorded. But I'm sort of debating if I'm going to do some other small episodes, but I don't know yet. Yeah, well, I don't know, but you'll soon see probably. And as always, I always love to know your thoughts and feelings on today's episode. So you can always email me, connorwhiteley@connorwhiteley.net. You can always tweet me on Twitter @SciFiWhiteley, and you can always leave a comment on the show notes at connorwhiteley.net. And as always, I love to hear from you. And the sponsored product for today's episode is a formulation in psychotherapy. So I really, really enjoyed researching it, writing it up, because if you're going to go into clinical psychology, then you need to know about formulation, because formulation is where mental health needs to go. Because instead of saying you've got depression, we're going to give you CBT because this works for everyone else, and you're depressed, it actually goes into tailor-made therapies just so you can help the person in their individual circumstances. That and the book goes into so much detail, but it's really easy to understand, and tons of people love it from what they're telling me. So I really, really encourage you to get this because it also goes into all the different therapeutic models, how they use a formulation in their own unique way, and some of them are really interesting how they use it, because sometimes they're really different, sometimes they're quite similar, but all of it is really interesting. And also you would get to know about some brand new areas of psychology that I've never heard of, personal construct psychology. That one's actually really interesting. If you want to go into clinical psychology, and if you want to get ahead in your masters slightly, which is why I did the book, then a formulation I really, really recommend learning about. So that's Formulation in Psychotherapy, available in ebook on all major ebook retailers like Amazon, Kobo, Google Play, and it's available in print from Amazon and all with the usual bookstores. And you can get the print book and the ebook for free at your local library if you request it. So that's enough for the personal update. Let's move on to the content part of today's episode. So moving on to the content part of today's episode. So originally this was going to be something to do with A-level psychology, because I was trying to do some content for the A-levels, specifically, but then I actually got to it and I was thinking, no, it would require quite a lot of tweaking, and I just didn't really want to do that quite yet. So because it's getting to Christmas holidays or Hanukkah, I think that's the Jewish word. I really do apologise if I've just like got that wrong. That's like whatever you like celebrate, like wherever you are in the world. Then gift choosing tends to be part of the celebrations. So because we're getting quite close to that time of year, I know tons of people are quite stressed, especially in like the UK, because for all of like November we were in like lockdown and no one was able to do their Christmas shopping. And pretty much I'm really pleased because my mum did all the Christmas shopping in October and like so did I. So when I tell people, they tend to be quite annoyed at us. But in that case you're doing any like last minute Christmas shopping, then hopefully these 3 tips are really going to help you avoid some really common mistakes. And this episode is quite psychology based, which I really, really like. Okay. So the first mistake is choosing what you would like. So I completely understand this. And to be honest, I think we've all done this. And we've all done this, but to be honest, it is quite a costly mistake because the common train of thought is that, well, we're related, we all live in the same environment, we're all related, so surely you must like the same stuff as me. But I don't think that could be any further from the truth. Like my dad, my brother, they're really into cars and everything. So, but if they got me a car present, I would be so disappointed. I would be, to be honest, people would call me ungrateful because I would just be like, thank you, I love this car present, even though I hate cars. I just want something that gets me from A to B. I couldn't care if it was a Jaguar X500. Again, I don't know if that's right. It probably isn't, to be honest. But it's just like stuff like that, and that mistake is really common. And the reason why this happens and the cognitive psychology behind it is that people have a thinking bias, so we tend to overestimate how much other people like what we like, which again though, I completely understand, and I can think of tons more like examples. And another bit of like psychology for why this happens is that because this is a great example of bad perspective taking, because there's 2 types of perspective taking. There's the self-perspective taking, which is when you're able to, well, it's just you being you, but then there's the other perspective, and then there's the other taking perspective, which is basically when you go into someone else's shoes. And if you buy someone what you would like, but not what they would actually like, then you're not actually doing the other taking perspective. So the Christmas giving tip for this reason is when you buy something, actually ask yourself, am I buying this for me, or am I buying this because the other person will like it? So that's the first tip. Another reason is choosing goods over experiences. So this one was a bit of I had to read it twice on the original blog post that I saw. But the thing is though, is that the Western world and for countries above the brandy line, because for some reason yesterday I was really into geography when I was doing the blog post and some stuff in the evening. I think it's because of an audiobook that I'm listening to, because it's a fiction world but it's based on maps. But countries in these areas they tend to have tons of material goods. Like for example, when I was writing the blog post, I was in my nice warm bed, very comfortable, on my phone whilst it was charging, and I had unlimited electricity. That is a luxury in quite a bit of the world because like some parts of the world, they only have electricity for a few hours a day. So even now, I'm standing in my audio booth and I've got a wooden frame, audio blankets, a microphone, a laptop, electricity, etc. So I have tons of material goods though, but I do want to acknowledge that some people in Western countries and countries above the brandy line, they don't have these luxuries, which is why in my 2021 planning that I was doing 2 days ago or 2 nights ago, I'm actually going to be doing something about the UN development goals or something like that. I still need to plan out that bit properly because I want to help people and I want to try and make more of an impact. But moving on to the actual reason, though, is that because we have so many material goods, if we actually get more of a material good though, it actually makes no physical or psychological difference to our well-being because it's sort of like, oh, well, this is just another good. I'll just add this to my collection. It sounds really harsh, but that's what it basically is, which is a bit of a shame. But the end of the day, though, is that this has been supported by research. For example, there was a US study of 1,279 Americans aged 21 to 69 that actually found these foundings, meaning that experiences are more valuable than actual goods, which I think is quite interesting because for years my mum has said don't buy me stuff, buy me memories and everything. Well, and everything like. That's why my dad tends to get her something to do with the theatre, and that's why for Christmas I tend to ask for tickets to the London Book Fair, because yes, I know that sounds really nerdy, and everything, but the London Book Fair, I get to mix with my fellow authors. I get to go to some great talks. I get the experience of being around other authors and being around my peers and learning stuff, and I get to see my my role models, which I think is really, really interesting and really important. So the gift tip at the end of this reason is, when you go to choose a present, if you can afford it, and if they're actually going to enjoy it, maybe try and give an experience. I don't know, but maybe some cinema tickets, maybe a restaurant voucher, maybe a spa day, etc. But because I forgot to mention this, is that anything above the basic needs of people, like food, shelter, water, heating, etc., then it actually has no difference to a psychological or physical well-being. But of course, if they need it, then socks, shelter, money for food, etc., then that will mean the world to people. So we're moving on to the final reason: refusing to ask questions. And in the blog post when I was actually writing last night, I actually put in there that, well, one of the functions of the Psychology World podcast, I think, is to debunk myths. And refusing to ask questions, because the amount of times I've heard someone going, I don't want to ask questions, I want to prove that I know them enough. And I'm thinking, yes, that is very true, and I respect you for that. But if it's going to cost you looking bad because you just wanted to prove yourself, and if you're actually going to get them a bad present, isn't it better just to ask questions? And to be honest, I don't see the problem in asking questions, because here's the thing: if you're asking questions, then doesn't that show that you're actually trying, that you want them to be happy, and that you really want to get them a good present? Because, to be honest, I would prefer someone asking me tons of questions, almost to the annoying extent, just to get a good present, than getting a present that I'm going to hate, and I'm going to thinking, well, I've given you tons of suggestions. You obviously don't listen to me. It's just something like that. And come on, I think we all think that by at least one present at Christmas. So the Christmas gift giving tip at the end of this reason is, ask questions if you're unsure. It doesn't make you look bad. It makes you look interested. It makes you look like you're actually trying for them. So hopefully you found this episode really, really useful. As always, I would love to know your thoughts on it. Please check out Formulation in Psychotherapy, available on all major ebook retailers, and print books available on all the usual places. And you can get the ebook and print book for free at your local library if you request it. So have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the show notes, then please go to connorwhiteley.net. And if you want a free 8-book psychology box set, then please go to connorwhiteley.net. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.